morning, Pierre.
Welcome to the early edition of the Hockey Nation Live Show. This is your co-host, Coach Francis, directly from the Sunshine State, and we have to go all the way to the West Coast to find the only one, Michael De Villano. Happy Thursday, happy Thankful Day, and we are 26 days before the season start. So today is the day of Matt Naslund and Martin Saint-Louis, two number of the 26 long time ago.
Matt Naslund was great.
He was pretty good. You know, he played with, he was, I'll be honest with you, it was David Goliath, right? Because during the time he played, Michael, he was really the big guy, like the Landreau, Joel Otto, and those guys shifting for the lower to the bigger guys. So and he go through, he have a great career in NHL, I believe.
He was such a great player. Like he was like a killer, like on the ice, and he's only like 5'8" or something.
Oh yeah, he was very small, and he also was not he was really the one open up more door for the Sweden players. Not say he's the first one, but he was one really open more door, and also give an NHL team to follow up more the player from Sweden, like scouting them and looking more what's going on over there. Because really, what a 5, 7, 10 years after him, it's really where the Sweden become a dynasty for the players to be picked over there. You get after him like Forsberg and all kind of player like that. So that's not a really open door for me about the changing the hockey culture in Sweden. To give them a chance for the young kids. Hey, look, if you want to play hockey, you can have an opportunity to play in NHL. So for me, that's what I remember the most of Matt Naslund.
So they won the cup here, right? When he had a 110-point season, is that?
Yes.
Right. So, and I don't know if that was that Jean Perron? Was that the coach?
I'm sorry again.
Was that Jean Perron was the coach then? I think that's it, right? Yeah, that was the year. Yeah, so I mean, he led that team along with Bobby Smith. Larry Robinson was still there. Yep. He even made Shell Dahlin look like an NHL player for one season.
That's another one, right? So,
Guy Carbonneau. I mean, this is a team that I don't think anybody went, "Hey, this is the team that's going to win the cup." But that's what happened. You had a rookie, Patrick Waugh, and he took over from Steve Penny that year. So that was a crazy team, and that was when we saw Claude Lemieux. He only played 10 games in the regular season. Then the guy gets 10 goals in 20 games.
Yeah, well, that year he came to the playoff. He scored a big goal against Hartford on power play and overtime, everything like that. So that team was pretty good.
They were great. Look at his
with a lot of mix of the veterans. Think about Rick Green as the defenseman over there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then you have Chris Nolan, John Gordick on the same team. So Randy Walter at that moment, he was a little bit a veteran. NHL was a great center, two-way center, everything like that. And Guy Carbonneau, of course, was over there with Chris Nolan, Bob Gainey. He's still, so really, really a good team in NHL during those years.
Yeah, that was the only time I think I ever liked Claude Lemieux when he came in as a rookie, and I was like, oh, this guy's great. He's so tough, and he scores goals. After that, everybody hated him.
I know.
Now he's a big agent. He's like a top agent. It's kind of crazy. We have a lot of people with us. Ryan Lomberg joined us. We got Dan Asham. Good morning, Dan. Our friend Enertap is here. Good morning, Enertap. And we have Eric Julian. And then Grega John has joined us. And we have Roger. And we have Bud the Monkey. I don't know if I've seen this person yet, but I think you have. Is Mean Girl Hockey with the kiss symbol.
Yep.
Gotta like that. No school today for Bud the Monkey. Good. Less learning, more earning, right?
Yep.
Gentlemen, let me propose this thought on behalf of the Habs. Now that Bozak is signed, if I were Bergeron, I would offer sheet Robert Thomas. This guy's got to stop with the offer sheets, man. I think it doesn't work because you got to be able to have some cooperation with GMs, and there's like an unwritten thing that you don't screw around with offer sheets.
The problem with that part over there in our top is they will match, first of all, Robert Thomas for $4 million. They not let you go. They have no problem. What are you talking, Cole? Because they have going to put on the long-term injury reserve at the beginning of the year Stanford or the other guy over there. So they have enough money to survive about that one over there. Thomas is going to sign up a contract about $2 million, 2.5. That's what my expectation. Yeah, no much negotiation for Robert Thomas. He was injured last season. He's like, he had no stat to prove like, hey, I deserve to get that $3, $4, $5 million. And he's 22 years old. So I think at that moment, a bridge contract for him would be the key about that one over there. So
he had 3 goals. I mean, he looked promising the prior 2 years. He's got a lot to prove, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, this was a replacement for Robbie Fabry after they moved him. He's a similar player. I think, Fabry, what did Fabry get? Did he get 2.8 or something?
Fabry?
Yeah.
I could a little bit higher, I believe.
Is he a little higher?
I think so.
I can't remember. I thought he was 2.8. Yeah, he's 2.9 for Pierre.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not going to. I wouldn't want to pay Robert Thomas $4 million when the guy that he was replacing is getting 2.9, and has had better
That's
stats.
right. Between also Fabry is 25 and Thomas is only 22.
Yeah.
So one he's been in the league about before that. So I think for me, I think he's a little bit what Kotkaniemi number are at 2.5. He should be the number what he could get Robert Thomas.
It would only cost. I think that the reality is that, first of all, does Bergeron really want to be the offer sheet GM forever and ever? I don't think he's going to keep dipping into that. Well, like, he's in a rat hole with Carolina, and they tried to send a message back. I mean,
when you do, Michael, at the end of the day, you do an offer sheet only for a player you're going to pay, think he's going to make an impact, will make a difference to your team, or the Kotkaniemi situation for Carolina, Michael. It's a wild card. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah.
Because next season, Michael, they're losing maybe Vincent Trachek. So they are okay. Right. Said if it does not work and Kotkaniemi is doing well, now we can go Trachek, or we maybe trade him at the trade deadline. Yeah. So they have other option after they got Kotkaniemi. Under Robert Thomas, you stuck with nothing. You have already Kotkaniemi. Now you try to get back something like Robert Thomas. Is not fit very well. You have Jack Evans. You have Rand Poland. You have Perro over there. Yeah. You're not desperate right now to fit the third center. I think what you're looking for now, at some point in the next couple of months, for Montreal Canadiens to figure out a defenseman number 1. I really believe, look like for what I heard this morning, Norlander is going to be back in Sweden for the upcoming season. Because at the end of the day, Michael, to let him as a defenseman number 6 or maybe 7, it's better to have a development 1 year in the good league as the Sweden, and then after that come back. And they already did that kind of mistake with Kotkaniemi. So why
they're going to send him back? He's not even going to be in camp, or is he going to be in camp?
Yeah, he's going to camp today.
But they'll send him back to Sweden if he doesn't make the team.
Well, they don't have that's his contract is. So you have a clause inside his contract. It's NHL or the SHL. So that's what happened about that contract. The second,
so you can't play in the AHL.
Yeah, the second thing is this morning, Jesse Ilonen is not there. He's going to be back tomorrow morning at the camp. So that's the only news we have. The player on the ice at that moment, Brassard, just got a couple of news about that. So that's pretty much what happening with the Montreal Canadiens.
Wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't agree with the statement that. Well, first of all, I think Bud the Monkey I agree with, which is if you're going to offer sheet someone, you offer sheet like a Peterson and you go all in, and you put a lot of money on the table. If I'm going to do it, that's what I'm doing. So I agree with that. And that's a true number 1. I would agree with that. And then I don't agree with the statement that Thomas has a higher roof. I wouldn't agree with that than Fabry. To me, Fabry and Thomas are the same player. One's just younger than the other. And that's why they felt comfortable moving Fabry. I mean, he had injuries. They knew they were going to run into contract situation with him, and they weren't sure he was ever going to be healthy. And look, again, last year he was hurt again. He had the concussion issues, which he seems to have overcome. But to me, this is the same player. So I'm not going to dump $4 million in and hope I get it. and then further damage my reputation amongst other GMs. Is like, oh, you're coming after all our young guys.
Yeah, and I think one more thing also, it's for salary cap. Now you get a kid at $4 million when you have Chariot, Edmondson, Savard, and at $3.5 million, you have Armia, Likonen, and that's what the other players inside the locker room, that's not going to like it at all, and that's not worth it to do that, or you have no really a big reason to improve your team. So because I've got Robert Thomas now, I'm going to make the playoff. So for the end of the year, it's not worth it to go there.
I
Now,
agree.
on the flip side, I think Badamonkey is right. You do enough for a sheet for the players going to be an impact, and not on short term, but long term, where you become what you don't have. So I'll be honest with you. The only player right now I will give enough for a sheet, but you cannot. It will be what you can. It's Ramos Dallin or Quinn Hughes. That's what Montreal does not have. So if you want to do something like this right now,
Would be interesting.
that's your targeting 2 players where you don't have a lot. So, Peterson, but we have a Suzuki. I don't say he's a little bit like Peterson, but my point is like, go where you don't have nothing. You don't have absolutely nowhere you can become.
Yeah.
Well, so for me, if you want to do it for a sheet, go out those kind of players like that at that moment.
I mean, imagine you get really aggressive and you give Dahlin $11 million. I think Buffalo would match it. I don't know, but you never know.
they would match it, honestly. They have money to do that, everything like that.
Yeah, they got nobody.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I think that's what Montreal should do if you want to do enough for a shit. We be thinking about that. By the way, we have Yarmo in the house.
Good morning, Yarmo.
Yarmo, I don't know. It's funny you show up today, and a couple of weeks you did not show up. My point to you is, I don't know if you hear us last night, but Stefan Manberg and a couple of people was asking about you last night. Now you show up this morning. So it's funny sometimes the people, thinking about other people, and then the person show up the next morning. So Yarmo, Stefan is looking for you. So I don't know if you can find him, but just want to let you know about that. So I know why. Yarmo is going to Finland.
Oh, he is.
So that's what the reason he's traveling to Finland. I think next week, whatever it is. So Yarmo, just want to let you know about that one there.
Mean Girl Hockey says that KK's gone because he's not worthy of Réjean Houle's number 15.
the peanut Réjean Houle. Réjean Houle, if he was your idol, hopefully he was the hockey player, not the general manager.
Not as a GM.
The GM, I don't think he was an idol. But the one thing about Réjean Houle, he worked, Michael, many, many years at the Brasserie Molson as a representative. And also, he become one of the president of the ex-NHL player, like the alumni players. He's been there for years. They built a great suite and a place for the family go to the game, but also the family hanging out together at the rink, every time like that at the Bell Center. So he was really, really involved with the hockey player, the ex-NHL player for Montreal Canadiens. So at some point, Réjean, he make mistake, and maybe it was not the right spot to be the GM over there. But at the end of the day, you have to give credit for that one over there.
Greg John says, nice video coach on the legend Mike Bossy.
Thank you so much, John. Appreciate a lot. I need to do one for you guys for John because he's a big fan of our Boston Bros. But I did Raymond book, so we have to. So I did Ray book like 2 weeks ago. So Del Award Shock, I did another one. I think the next one I have to look is maybe Marcel Dion. That's what I'm looking about.
Oh my God, that would be great.
Yeah.
So just to close this out, yes, offer sheets, we know they're legal. That's not really the point. There's a reason that offer sheets are not a regular part of the game. Everyone as GMs understand that it escalates the price on players that are getting more money than they're worth. It's already tough enough to meet cap requirements, and you're going after players that it's supposed to save teams money that they're on entry-level contracts. So they're restricted for a reason. So amongst GMs, like, yes, you're competing against them, but you have to cooperate unless all you're going to do is steal other people's prospects and get into this tete-a-tete, because they're just going to keep matching, and they have rights too. So it's kind of like a nuclear arms race when you're doing this. It's not like the best thing for you. And we've seen over time, like, other GMs typically match, and for Montreal not to match says a lot about the player. Like, it's a very, like, that's the same as Anaheim. they said, hey, take Dustin Penner. You can have him, Edmonton. You're overpaying. And that's what ended up happening, right? Like, so it's
Yeah,
just
absolutely
it's a
right. I
poison
think the
pill.
salary cap changed everything, right? Because
Absolutely.
now Montreal, at the end of the day, Montreal
Well,
should
even before, but
normally should tie up the oversheet. 99.9 the player did, like other team does, like Weber did it, Dustin Penner did it, everything like that. It's just like now there's going to be, it's there an almost like an agreement between the teams that do
absolutely.
not do this because you're going to screw all the salary cap every time like
Right.
that. And now you make it's
Enemies.
like anything else. Without enough for a sheet, Michael, you just gave a contract to someone at $9 million where it should be $7 million. What happened in the next day? The player don't have a contract. We said, look, wait a minute. This guy got $9 million. I did this. I should at least to get 8.5. So it's just increasing everything. That at the end of the day, everybody's penalized because
And comparables, right? Like, it's like, hey, this guy looks like this guy. Agents use it to try to raise other people's salaries. So it's not even just that player. Like, if I go, hey, Kotkaniemi made $6 million and he had 11 goals. My guy had 11 goals. He should get $6 million. So that's the other problem, right? So I think overall, it's bad practice for you as a GM trying to operate in the league generally. It's not like it's going to help you generally. Someone's not going to match for a reason. They're not going to match because there's risk in the player. You're overpaying them. Like, if it's a good player or a great player, they're going to match.
Yep.
How good was Jeff Skinner before he declined?
It was pretty good. He have a couple of good year with Carolina. That's really where it was good. He came in Buffalo. He had a great year. And then they have Santa Claus over there, Buffalo. They gave him $9 million.
Crazy.
But, it's happened. It's fun thing. It's always happening. Players make a mistake. We can go with, David Clarkson from Toronto Maple Leafs a long time ago. I think Nathan Horton get another bad contract overall. And you can find out, like Eric Carlson right now have a bad contract right now. And every time you have always someone where almost every year get a bad contract overall. But,
So first off, I coached against him. He was a young guy. He was like 13. Was always considered, played for Markham, which was outside of the GTHL and the OMHA. And then he came to play with the Toronto Young Nats. And he was as advertised, Pierre. He's very smart. He was an unusual skater, but a great skater. He was a figure skater, which is strange. So he had like that edge style. But I think in the NHL, like a lot of people kind of criticize that skating. He's a small guy. And I think he's prone to getting hurt because of that. But you could see, like, he was rookie of the year. So he had 30 goals in his first 82 games. He was hurt the next year, so he dropped a little bit and dropped again. He was hurt again. So he just had injury problems. He can't play center. He's too tiny. But, he's a capable goal scorer. And I think he just, to your point, like, he just got too much money. He had a 40-goal season. If you know him, he's a little bit streaky. And he was playing with, probably the best player he had at that point, which was, a young Eichel who had 82 points. So together, the three of them had their best year. So I think that was beneficial to him. I just think
at the end of the day, Michael, I
59
think
games, like, he's hurt again.
At the end of the day, at that moment, he have to sign contract, right? I believe the Buffalo Sabres should have a little bit did more homework. They just gave $10 million to Jack Eichel, right?
Yeah.
Skinner, I think a $6 million, 6.5
would have been 7.
That would be the
7.
right amount. Whatever he did not produce after that, at least you say, you know what? But the money they gave $3 million for my book, too much, and a 6-year, not 8 years.
I agree.
And go from there after that. I think that would be the best thing to do at that moment. Now we'll see what happens about that. But that's
he's
another
totally capable of bouncing back. Like, he's a talented player and he's a vet now. He just, again, he drops to 14 goals from 40 because he's hurt again. And then last year was just a horrible year overall for that team. So this is like the offer sheet thing, right, Pierre? It's like a guy gets too much money and now there's all this pressure on him.
Well, that's the reason happening with Kotkaniemi this year. Would be interesting to follow Kotkaniemi.
It might wreck him.
So, and also, right, if you for me, it's like the one got it, like Weber. You knew with Weber, whatever was the amount, you know Weber would perform. I think Montreal, when they hit How, they knew with How, you're not going to have no problem with How. I'm a little bit concerned if Kokanemi can become a Dustin Penner
That's the
situation
problem.
about that one over there. That could
Absolutely.
be something like that. But again, will be interesting at what happened. The only way why there are the offer sheet is there in our tab is because is inside the convention for
Yeah, and I think it should be there. But
NHLPA. If a player cannot sign a contract for any reason, you have another possibility to have another option
yeah,
B. But usually, if the player does not negotiate or the go no go nowhere, usually, Michael, they're going to request a trade, or
yeah,
he's not going to go show up at the camp. He's going to be on waiting and see. It's happened to Piquet Subban at some point. It happened to other players.
yep,
But I think that will be the next move about what could happen to Kaprizov or Quinn Hughes or Peterson. The problem of Quinn Hughes, because he's the 10.2 rules C, I believe is the rules,
yeah.
where no negotiation
It's
for him
weird.
to get on the first sheet.
Yeah. So I think the reality is the player has the right to go out and do this. They do this often just to get a contract. I mean, Sebastian Aho got probably the right number, and that was part of it, right? So it's like he ends up back with his team because the team can match. So I don't think there's any problem with that. But it's just like if you're a GM, you don't want to continuously be making offer sheets to other teams' players because it's definitely going to ruin your reputation amongst GMs. And you need to have a little bit of cooperation there. It's just futile. And the thing about Penner was, he scored 29 goals as a rookie. He got offer sheeted by Kevin Lowe. He still got 23 goals. He kind of dropped, but then he gets 32. So he was capable NHL player. It just, that was the last time one was worked for someone. And then now Kotkaniemi.
Yeah.
So it's a long time between players there. All right, Pierre, I did want to touch on a couple of things. Good morning to Johnny Golden, by the way. And the Isles, I thought Eric Gustafson. So the Isles have offered a PTO to Eric Gustafson. It might be a good depth thing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's okay that way, Trying to think of who they have on D, but maybe he's like a 5-6 candidate.
Well, he's going to be behind Andy Green, right?
Right.
So I think that will be the key right now. We know what Gustafson can do. It's like offensive power on power play, everything like that. So that will be the one over there. Manfield. They don't have a lot of offensive player as a power play guys. So I think that will just get there. Yeah, of course, we know you have the Thompson, but at the end of the day, it's just in case something could happen. It's an extra player, everything like that.
Yeah, I agree. So Marco Rossi was a high draft pick for the Minnesota Wild. He was an overage player in the OHL, and he had pretty good numbers. We saw him on the international stage with kind of a weak Swiss team, but he was a very, capable player. And then unfortunately, he had kind of like heart inflammation issue from getting COVID. So he got an early version of the virus, I guess, and got pretty sick, and he pretty much lost all of last year. He's not the only player to lose a whole season last year because of in his case, it was health related, right? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him. I haven't heard too much about Minnesota's rookie camp. I don't even know if they're in a tournament or anything. Some teams are and some teams aren't.
No.
So they're just having a regular training camp?
Yeah, I think they already done. They already did it.
Did they? Oh, they did like an August development camp?
Well, like maybe a couple of weeks ago, like 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah, August is probably interesting. So I don't know. When he was originally drafted, what did you project him as, and do you think he can make Minnesota this year?
Sorry again?
Well, first of all, what do you think his potential is in the NHL? Because I
what was the question again?
Yeah, what do you think his potential is in the NHL?
For Marco Rossi?
Yeah, Marco Rossi.
But the point for him is like he showed up in the right situation, what you talk about. It's because right now Minnesota one Michael have a problem with money. If you on that, and for the next couple of years they will have dead money. So they will give a chance for Rosie. They are Moldy. I believe it's I don't know the first name Moldy. Matt Moldy maybe.
Boldly, Matthew Boldly.
Okay, so that's another one over there.
Another
They
good
have
prospect.
another prospect I'm forgetting right now. So my point to you is like they go have a chance to give him every opportunity he can get to be a part of that team over there. So I wouldn't be surprised. It's a big step for him right now after
It
he got
is.
very sick with
Yeah.
COVID. So I don't know if he can make it, to be honest with you, but the expectation, Marco Rossi, Michael, is the same thing like Andon Lundell and Florida or those kind
That's a
of
good
players
point.
like him, where the team expect a lot from those kind of players. I can go with Carlson and Buffalo and that kind of player would be drafted that year for Marco Rossi class. So look, can he make it? I'm not sure yet, but will be interesting to follow him for during the camp for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him. I'm hoping that he doesn't, have too many long-term adverse effects and that the lost season for him is not a big deal. He did get in some games last year. Oh, and he's already played. This is interesting. I think he played for Austria in the
Yeah, the team before the Olympics tournament, maybe doing that. So he was over there for that one over there. Have 1 goal, 2 assists. Did not too bad. Look, is the kid's getting look like what he did at the interview with Russo. He told him like he's ready to roll. His body's great. He feels great. And that. So the kid have everything. Can he carry on this now to play in NHL? That's the biggest question about that one over there. That's going to see. But I believe the Wild, because of money situation, that will give him every chance or opportunity to stay with the team because they need maybe some depth inside that team. So would be interesting about that.
Yeah, I'm pulling for him. And then on Kaprizov, we know that we keep hearing there's still no movement on this player. Like it's crazy. So I was looking at the agent Paul Thano. I think it's Thanos. I can't pronounce his last name. But his agent, the other player that he represents that's really big is Artemi Panarin. So do you think that is the comparable that he's using is Artemi Panarin, and that's the problem?
I don't think so. I think for him, it's more about it's not a 5 years, I believe. It's more about the if he's really loved to be in Minnesota or the state, everything like that. That's what my biggest question. For everybody, me, I will go from that one there. So you know what, buddy? I'm going to give you 3 years contract. I'm going to give you $10 million for 3 years, and then we'll go to reevaluate in 3 years where we at and where you at and what you want to do. That would be the best thing to do at that moment. I know Minnesota want to get him fired because he tried to keep it 2 years on the UFA under the bell. But I think at that moment right now, give him 10 million, 3 years, and go really, he's going to be what, 27, 28 after that. And
that's dumb. I don't think that makes sense. But this agent doesn't represent very many NHL players. He only, and you look, he's got an $11.6 million contract with Panarin, which you could argue is justified. He's a top 2 or 3 right winger in the game. Sergei Bobrovsky, the $10 million contract he's got is kind of like a bit of a problem for his team and him right now because he's not performing up to that level. And then the next player he has is Varlamov, and it drops off a lot after that. So it's like this guy's trying to hit a home run with another top player. Like a lot of players or agents, if you look at them, they have 30, 40 players on their roster. Like, look, Pat Brisson, 52 players. Craig Oster, 73 players. JP Barry, 59 players. And he's nowhere near that on any of these.
No, he got the one there. But if you go under his agency, return that Michael going to sign, you have other contract or with other league and other sport. So that's what he does him about that one over there. So
interesting.
But again, back to NR Tap, like you said, but also it's also the close of the 10 team, 5 team, 7 team, whatever they go about that one over there. But I think behind this, I'm back again. I don't see him enjoy to be there, and that's bring what Tap said.
That's weird.
Shorter is better for the players or the agent, and not to sign a long term, because if you want to get out, boom.
Yep. No, it makes sense. If he's not, I wonder if he just doesn't like it. If he wants to go to, it's like Panarin, right? Panarin wanted to go to New York, and maybe he sees himself
when he became UFA, right? So for
right.
them, it's like, like that said to you, you know what? I'm going to give you $10 million, 3 years. Then after 3 years, you know what? If you have to go, let you go.
Get nothing.
And at the end of the day, that's what happened, right? And
Yep.
5 years, and then the year number 4 is not happy. He's maybe not happy about, because when you have 3 years, Michael, and maybe after 2 years is I'm out of here and you win 1 year, it's no big deal. But you have 5 years, year number 3, number 4, number 5 is under head for both parties about 10 years apart. So
good point.
I can understand that, but I think also Minnesota, I really, really believe, because in 2 years, Michael, they have $14 million dead.
I know, it's crazy.
Right? So for me, if the team does not go nowhere or they have a difficult time, I believe there would be the time to trade Kaprizov.
Maybe.
Because now you're going to rebuild a little bit, Michael. Right? And you have the Boldy and the Rossi, everything about it. Now you get something solid in return for Kaprizov. And then after that, you get the debt money you get by prospect. I think the deal will be better, or the way to make business be better.
I don't know why people think Robert Thomas is that good. He's not that good. When they moved Robbie Fabry, I'm like, same player. And I like Fabry. I've watched Fabry for a long time. But I'm like, come on. This guy, Fabry can help you, but he's not going to be a top 3. He'll be top 6 or 9. And that's the same with Robert Thomas. I mean, this is not a franchise player.
But again, whatever is great, he's a good hockey player.
He's good.
What he will bring to your team to give him $4 million, and then after that, you have to give him another RFA, another $4 million, and he's dead as the third center. Look what's going on with Alex Kerfoot in Toronto.
Right.
Look with Komarov and Islanders third center. You have to be careful, and when you manage a salary cap, you have to get the money go at the right share.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you cannot. At $4 million, Montreal have no money. They have no money to carry on this. What are you going to do with Paul Biron when he show up after that? Now you're going to give another players to someone else for nothing, because you have you have to compose. You cannot put Paul Biron on the waiver list. Nobody will get him. So you're stuck with him, and he is a veteran in NHL. So it's a lot of things before you do a movement or an action. You have to get all the perspective of what this brings if you have him. Now you become a third center at 23 years old at $4 million. You just let go Kokanemi.
Yeah.
So if you think that way, why not to offer Kokanemi $4 million? Sure. And I'll be honest with you, if you give him $4 million, what do you do? Kokanemi does, Michael.
He might not.
He would sign it, Michael, because he didn't want to offer him $2 million. That's the reason he did not sign him. So everything you have to get. I understand you maybe think is a good point, a good play, but for me, why to go there? And then you gave pick everything on that.
And I think you said a smart thing before too, which is this is not their problem. Their problem is a number 1 D.
That's the point behind everything. That's the point.
Like, why do that? It makes no sense. All right. So today is a big day, Pierre, because even though the season's 26 days away, there is hockey going on in the NHL, and that is the NHL Prospect Tournaments. There's one tournament today that starts in Traverse City. This involves 5 teams: the Columbus Blue Jackets, Toronto Maple Leafs, Detroit Red Wings, Dallas Stars, and the St. Louis Blues. So this is one of the better, more consistent tournaments that's out there. I'm hoping that some of these games are broadcast. We'll have to check it out, but we'll get to see some top prospects from these teams. The other tournament that's going on is in Arizona, and let's see.
Yeah, there's one in Tampa,
and then there's one in Tampa.
Yeah.
So the rookie tournament is the rookie face-off tournament. I wonder if this will be. Oh, actually, it starts tomorrow. I apologize. So tomorrow, the other one starts as a rookie face-off where it's Vegas and the Coyotes, LA, Anaheim. And normally I think there's San Jose in there too, right? So there should be San Jose.
Yep.
And then there should also be Colorado.
There are 4 teams over there.
I think it's 6.
6 teams, I'm sorry.
Yeah, 6, yeah. Interesting. John Ferguson Jr. is named the general manager
was named yesterday. Yeah.
Of the
Assistant
AHL.
general manager of the Coyotes and also GM for the Roadrunner.
So then the Florida Panthers tournament too, right? Which is what? Carolina, Tampa.
Carolina, Nashville, Tampa, and then you have also Toronto, Montreal, not Toronto. Then you have also the like you just mentioned. So you have 3 showcases on the weekend.
Awesome. So this is pretty exciting. So like it looks like the first game for Florida is on the 18th. Are there any games today? I can't remember. I don't know where you'd see the schedule, but this is great because you're going to see Florida rookies versus Carolina, Nashville, and then Tampa on Sunday, I guess. Or is that Monday? That might be Monday. There's a good article out on, surprisingly, Sports Illustrated, which is probably part of the hockey news, I believe. And it's the 10 prospects to watch at NHL rookie tournaments. And I just wanted to take a quick look at that. And then I wanted to take a look at the Philadelphia Flyers development camp because it's really interesting. So the first player that they highlight is 2nd overall pick, Quinton Byfield. So that's interesting. So we're going to see him in that Arizona rookie tournament. I thought he looked pretty good in the 6 games he played in the NHL last year. Reality was he didn't get any points. Oh, why am I freezing? Uh-oh. There, I'm back. Sorry. I froze for a second. I don't know what happened. So Quinton Byfield is one of the players that they highlighted. I'm interested to see how he does. I can see where he's a big body player with talent. I still think he needs a lot of development. So it'll be interesting to watch and see what kind of progress he's made. And they say, hey, he can dominate. If he can dominate, I think that's the question. And I'm not sure if he will, because we didn't see him at the World Juniors dominate. So I would be surprised if he dominates there. But maybe he's a better player by now. He's got that type of athletic potential. I think it's just time for him. The other one they highlight is interesting, Pierre, and is Liam Kirk. Have you watched Liam Kirk yet?
Well, a little bit, but I think this is more like a stun, because the grain he's come for the grain British, whatever they call it, and then that's the reason behind that. It would maybe become the first player, blah blah blah. But I don't see him. I'm pretty sure he would be back in Ducks.
So did he play in Germany or Britain last year? I can't remember. Because he's from Maltby, England. That's part of the big story. He played in the OHL. And I think he played – did he not play with the Roadrunners last year? I think he played in the AHL, didn't he?
I don't think so.
I thought he did. Yeah. Oh, so they're saying he's going to play for the AHL team this year.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, he played on the Peterborough Petes, and he had 50 points in 47 games in 2019-20, and he had 47 points in 63 games in his rookie year. And then, of course, going to the competition in Great Britain is not great. It's kind of like a 4th-tier league, but he was, kind of 10 goals in 14 games. So that says something because there's a lot of ex-NHL players there, but it's kind of like definitely not the level of even the ECHL. And then and he played for Great Britain at the World Championships, and he had a goal a game in that preseason. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. Is he really a high-end prospect? He's not a big guy, so I'm not sure what he projects as, but it would be interesting to keep an eye on. Okay, the goalie, Luukkonen, we saw him in Buffalo last year, and they really need a goalie, and they need him to turn out. So it'll be interesting to see if he's ready to stick in the NHL. He had 14 games in the AHL. He's a big Finnish netminder, so I am curious to see him. The other player they highlight is interesting to me because this has been not talked about a lot. But Ryan Merkley, he has all the talent in the world, Pierre. He's got a little bit of a strange personality, and they had some problems with him in the OHL. But talent-wise, this kid should be in the NHL pretty soon. He's like a very mobile, offensive, smart defenseman, can shoot the puck, make strong outlet passes. San Jose really needs this player to turn out because I don't think they have another prospect to caliber him on defense. And if he can step up and pick a top 4 role, which is what he's capable of, that would give them a lot of flexibility in moving out some of the deadweight contracts that they have in San Jose. I'm excited to see Lucas Raymond. I think all of us are kind of hoping that he can make the team and have an impact. But if not, we'll see him in the AHL. But you would hope that he goes into this Traverse City tournament and that he really dominates. This is another player that, I'm pretty high on, Philip Broberg, and I have high hopes that he'll be another defenseman that can step up in the top 6 for Edmonton this year. He's a big guy. He skates really well, and he's smart with the puck. Chinakhov, I know we've kind of talked about him. What do you think about Chinakhov? Do you think that he's a player that Columbus is targeting to make the team this year?
Would be interesting. Again, that's on a team where you have a couple open up spot over there, but I'm not sure. I think he would be back in American Hockey League, but will it be interesting?
This player, I don't know. Scott Perunich. So he says he's coming off he had a college career, which doesn't really.
He played with Minnesota Duluth over there. Okay. Great defenseman, puck mover, everything like that. But again, I think for me, it's about who's going to be the spot at Vince Dunn, and they lost also.
Good point.
Got Larson.
Yeah.
In power. So they have a couple of spots as a defenseman over there. So it would be interesting if a rookie can step up over there about that.
It's interesting to me that these two players are 9 and 10 because I would have ranked them ahead of a lot of the other players up to be interested.
They are not ranking. They are all just mentioned 10 different players around the NHL. So they're not ranking that way, to be honest with you. So that's what we talked a little bit yesterday, but overall. But, it would be interesting what Alexander Olds can make the team or not. That would be the one over there. We know already Lundell going to make an impact with Florida. I really believe Bill Zito have already Lundell or Kenville have already Lundell inside the lineup over there.
I think you're right.
For me, it's about what is the next move for Panthers. Because after that, that's still a job. Someone, and I think they want Joe Thornton. They not only sign him for publicity, but they want him in the lineup too. So, guy like Lamico, Marchman, Longberg, and then Leos Terinen, and they fight now for that one spot. So you have 5 players right there for one spot only. That's crazy if you think about that. So, really, really interesting what Joe and Conville and the Bill Zito is going to finalize the roster. Honestly, for the Montreal Canadiens, I only see Rand Poland inside that new team for the upcoming season. I don't see anybody else can make it. And it's funny because the camp is open this morning, Michael. And if you think about that, they are missing Jordan Harris. They are missing Stubble over there. That's 2 great defensemen. The inside the organization. They're missing Alex Stock over there. Yeah. That's number 3. They're missing Sean Farrell. That's another great over there. They're missing the defenseman Kosenko. Have a great starting beginning game and the VHL. And he maybe got a call up to go to the KHL at some point. Yeah, 4.5 game over there. That's a great player. And the hierarchy of the Montreal Canadiens are not over there. I'm interested to see, Michael, at the end of this camp for the Montreal Canadiens, what is Harvey Pinard is. And again, Harvey Pinard, Michael, and all the people love the Montreal Canadiens, is going to push out Gallagher.
Interesting. Is he that good?
Still believe me, Montreal should trade Brendan Gallagher.
Probably.
With another prospect and with something else and get a number 1 defenseman, young defenseman for the future if it's necessary. So really the big decision for Marc Bergevin, Michael, is not right now here. It's going to be at a trade deadline where they're going to see. I would not be surprised they send to Harvey Pinard, go back one more year, the Laval Rocket, go get your development potentially to get better and get that kind of experience. Play for Laval, or not be surprised if Harvey Pinard, Michael, finish top 3 best scorer for Laval next season. And then that would push maybe the exit of a guy like Gallagher and to get something good in return. Another top 1 or 2 in the NHL defenseman. Well, Montreal really need a guy like him right now for
Yeah.
the upcoming next couple of years.
Yeah, that might be an under the radar guy that can in a couple years, fill a spot and save them some money, right?
Yeah.
Good morning to Chainsaw Man. I just noticed that you were in the chat, so thanks for joining us. The Leafs versus Sabres, an outdoor heritage game this year, is being played in Hamilton.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wonder where. I guess they're going to play at like Ivor Wynne Stadium or something where they have football.
Yeah. Another thing also they have to because you talk about defensemen. I think Montreal should look about UFA. The card or the wild card, maybe you want to be sure or not like the other, like John Carlson. The worst case could be Langholm for the Anaheim Ducks. I think that would be something you can get about this, and maybe after that to trade Jeff Petrie while he's getting older, if you can do something like that. But Langholm could be the worst of those kind of situation for the Montreal Canadiens to get as a UFA. I really believe they should target Morgan Riley. If that's the case, the $8 million of Weber leaving, Michael, that will open up the money for Morgan Riley. And that's kind of defenseman Montreal would love to have for them. The only problem, not a problem, is another LD. Well, Montreal have a ton of LD. Romanov, Michael, is going to maybe pushing Chariot. Harvey Pinard may be pushing Gallagher. And the other defensemen like Jordan Harris or whatever like that, they are not jumping in the Montreal Canadiens, but those situations, Montreal, I got for my book, they're looking great. They have a lot. They picked, Michael, 38 picks in the last 3 years in NHL. So somehow, some point, you get going. And then you talk about Harvey Pinard. We talk about Ilonen. You talk about Alex Stock, Sean Farrell. And those kind of players, Kiknet Riley and Ridney. So you have a lot of fun players, not going to be a star in NHL. But when you have a Cole Caulfield already, Nick Suzuki over there, you know what I mean? And let's go for the future for Montreal. Better what the people thinking, and they don't get a chance to pick up, a really low pick like number 1, number 2. They can't go Kanemi, and they make a mistake. They should go with Ketchup, but that's easy to say that today, right?
Yeah.
But again, Kotkaniemi become Dvorak, and I think this is a great trade for Montreal Canadiens. Because that's what give you. And think about this, back to Tap earlier, Michael. You have Dvorak at $4.5 million. Now you gave $4 million to Robert Thomas.
No.
But you know what I mean? Like sometimes like
Dvorak's so much better than him right now.
But when I learned here to do live stream, everything like that, I was really before just a fans where I was, talking about hockey, everything like that. But since now I have to do some search, I have to do deeper and go deep and understand what the kind of move and everything to do this. I realize sometimes the perspective to go to see a little bit farther and to thinking about as a GM and thinking as a player and as an agent, give me a chance to see the other side of only said fun statement about anything about any NHL. And that's what, for me, it's great what we are doing, because that gives me a chance to learning more things I never thought to learn at some point, right? The X and O, I can understand, but the way that the GM thinking, the way they figure out, or the way they think differently, why they don't do this, why they do this. And it's really, and everybody is different. Don Sweeney, Joe Sakic, and Fitzgerald, or other thinking another way. Look what Armstrong is doing to Arizona. Look about his plan. What is the plan of them? What's the plan, Joe Sakic? I think Joe Sakic had a very difficult off summer. I think he got screwed. He screwed a bit the plan of Colorado. I believe Colorado is on the window of 2 years, 3 years. This is over after that. Now, it would be really interesting what Colorado is going to do this year. A lot of people think they are great. I'm not convinced they are great.
I think that they might have taken a small step back because they've lost Donskoy, they lost Saad. I think I think the goaltender change is not a guarantee. So I think there's some question marks there. I think they have a lot of really good young players, and including Byram and Barron. So that could help them. Newhook will probably take on a bigger role, but there's some question marks. I think they take a little step back. But in the end, they got an engine there with if Rantanen's healthy and McKinnon's healthy, that's a tough duo. And then they signed another big player. I can't remember who it was that maybe I'm overlooking.
But the problem they get right now, Michael, is like they lost Brendan Saad and they lost Don Squee, right? We talk about 45 goals, right? Out of the lineup, and they did not pick anybody else to get those kind of goal overall.
They bring in they brought in parts like Darren Helm. Like I don't see that helping them.
Right now, did you hear he's maybe not playing because the virus, the COVID-19, he cannot. Yeah, something happening this morning. I did not see the article where he cannot get a vaccination. Every time I have something about his story about Donald Elm. The only thing I know, someone said, why not Colorado knew about this? It's more personal, something like that. I did not read the story.
That's interesting. I didn't see that. I'll have to, Red Wings fan. Yeah, I don't see. I'll have to find that. That's interesting. That's not good. Was it on Twitter? It's funny how Twitter is a better source of news now than.
Yeah.
Let's see. Darren Helm, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that. All right, we have a few minutes, Pierre. I did also, good morning, Christian Final. Thank you for joining us.
Christian Final, Michael, is a new subscriber a couple of days ago and participates a lot. Montreal Canadiens fans, but he's a learning curve about hockey. Montreal Canadiens also, but he's a great guy. He'd show up and collaborate the evening. Stay with us late, everything like that. So it's great to see Christian join us this morning about that one over there.
Awesome.
Johnny Golden, I would be surprised if Bergeron trade Gallagher this year. If they're planning to trade him, bump up his number this year, move him next year. I don't say they will trade him. I just said maybe thinking about that kind of stuff like that. Honestly, if Bergeron make a trade, it's going to be depend on what's going on at the trade deadline, where the team is, if they are playoff they are the playoff team or they are out of the playoff. That could happen, some different option. The only player, Michael, they have to do something with this at that moment is Ben Chariot because he become a UFA. That's really the only one, honestly, they have to look about this. On the flip side, on the top, when you said Thomas not worth $4 million now, but on offer sheet, you cannot lowball on offer. Of course, you can compare to Dave Orac. You cannot compare. But my point is, it's hard. You cannot take a chance. That's the problem with an offer sheet.
It's designed to be difficult. It's designed that you have to overpay for a player. Like what? That's what it's designed to do, right?
I understand what you tried to say. We did not compare. I was not compare the players in our tap. I want to be sure you understand. I was compare the money of the players, not the players comparison. Like we know already, Dave Orac is better every time that. I was just trying to give the money to someone. You have to bring the value of that money, why you give the money versus someone else every time that. So I understand your point of view about that one there.
Yeah. All right. I wanted to take quickly a look before we wrap it up.
Yes, you can, Johnny. You have the max is 9 game.
Yeah.
Number 10, you completely lost your year of and then you become an NHL.
Yeah. So I did want to look quickly at the Philadelphia Flyers because I was taking a look at their development camp roster and it's pretty stacked. I think they made some aggressive moves around older defensemen. I thought they moved out some younger guys that I wasn't sure was smart, but they don't want to have what they had happen last year. Obviously, the coaches want some more established D, but they still have a lot of good young prospects. And I don't know if you want to comment. I know this is one player, for example, that
the coach from the coach yesterday have a. It's funny you talk about. It's funny you bring the. We don't talk. Me and Michael, we don't really talk during the day. We really barely talk about what's coming the next day. Everything like that. Oh, we are busy. Everything like that. But it's funny because yesterday I'm watching the press conference at the Philadelphia Flyers camp, and the coach was talking, Michael, how Morgan Frost and Tyson Foerster and Wade Allison have an amazing, great camp so far. And they really believe Morgan Frost because the Morgan Frost might could have a bad injury last season, most of the season last season, and now how he's ready and health and everything like that, you expect a big year for them. And that's maybe the chance why maybe another wild card for the Flyers, because the Flyers 1 year they don't make the playoff, the next year they make the playoff. It's like
Yeah.
a yo-yo like that, right? So Morgan Frost is a part of the equation, I believe, inside the organization for the upcoming season. So being really interesting about him. Dustin Forrester was a draft. It's another big guy, 6'2".
Yep.
Is a good was
Really
drafted 2
shoots
years
the puck.
ago. They expect a lot from him. And then they talk a lot about Wyatt Allison yesterday, where they are impressed by the way he plays so far. He's a little bit late now. He's become like more veterans now on the camp, right? Is 5 years draft, so he's about 22 yet right now, I believe his age.
Yep.
But he was doing well over there. For all the name you can mention, this one over there, that's really the one. Wisdom is another pick where you have to be patient with him about Wisdom, but not much to tell you. Oh, he was an amazing, great camp so far.
I think the big thing about Wisdom is he was a line mate of Shane Wright in the OHL. They lost that season last year, so he made the jump early, I think, to the AHL. So he played, let's see, did he play? He played for Lehigh Valley last year. And in 28 games, Pierre, in the AHL, he had 18 points.
Yeah.
Including 7 goals. So I'm really curious to see how he does. He's a stocky player with good skill. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. So I am definitely interested.
I still believe it would be one more year over there in AHL. And then after that, would be interesting about that.
Yeah, probably. Connor McLennan was a very highly rated WHL prospect, drafted. Hasn't really, compared to his peers, maybe become the high-end player that people expected. He didn't really grow very much, but he's a pretty talented player. So I'm going to be very interested to see how he does in this, upcoming camp. The other guy who's a really big guy and had a reputation as a goal scorer that hasn't necessarily translated yet to the AHL is Isaac Ragcliffe. And Ragcliffe was a Ron Hextall draft pick. He's 6'6", lanky center from London, Ontario, or actually I think they have playing on the left wing. And his reputation was one that he could really shoot the puck and score big time goals. But I think that hasn't really.
It reminds me a little bit Samuel Morin because the size of the player, right? The 6'6", Michael McCarron. Those guys sometimes 6'6", 6'7". Their skating, you know, that is not great, and they have to improve those kind of stuff. Like it's another one where he needs to figure out about him for the next couple of years.
Yeah, he was a 50 goal scorer in the OHL 2-3 years ago with the Guelph Storm, but so far he's only had 6 and 2 goals in his first 2 seasons. So he's got like 8 goals total in 75 AHL games. So I think he hasn't quite panned out the way they expected after a big OHL career. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. I think this is a very important camp for him, Pierre. If he doesn't show that he's still a prospect, they might move on from him. Matthew Strome is the youngest of the Strome brothers. So Dylan and Ryan, thank you. He's much bigger than them, but it'll be interesting to see how he does. He was drafted later than the other 2 brothers, which were both first-round picks. Can he carve out a career for himself? I don't know if it's totally panned out. He's now in 1999 birth year, so he's getting older. He's been around a little bit, but he hasn't really lit up the AHL. He's actually played in the ECHL more, so I'm not sure how this works out for him. It'll be interesting to see if he can kind of come around and continue to be a prospect. The big one, though, might be this player, Cam York. And I guess the question would be, you can't see it. What happened there? There we go. Sorry. Cam York. This is a high draft pick, USA development player. It's been like 2 or 3 years since he's drafted now, Pierre. It's kind of crazy how quickly that went. Do you think that Cam York is ready to make the NHL?
Possible.
It's possible. So he's getting very close. I don't see him much beyond this year not playing a role for them. I'd be very surprised. And that would be good news for them because, again, they've got some very expensive defensemen. If you can throw Cam York into the mix with the guys they've got, that could actually boost the overall skill level and really help them try to get contending. But I think there's a lot of question marks about the Philadelphia Flyers roster.
Here's a player you have to follow up, right? So
I think so.
that's the, he was maybe one of the best player on the ice for the Team Canada last season from USA.
Was he in Michigan?
I think so.
I think he might have been, right? The only other player I'll mention here is Wyatt Wylie. So this is interesting from if you're an Everett Silvertips fan. Wyatt Wylie grew up in Everett. So he really, Pierre, is the first player who's come through the Everett program we were building, kind of a tier 2 to tier 1 program. He left to play for the Dallas Stars Elite and then came back to play for Everett's tier 1 program. From there, he made the WHL team, and then he was drafted and assigned with the Philadelphia Flyers organization. So overall, I project him to be in the AHL, but he's a hard-hitting defenseman that can really shoot the puck. I think the big thing for him will be to keep improving his skating to the NHL level, but he's not far off. He might surprise us. He's an interesting player, and if he ever plays any game in the NHL, I think he'll be the second player from Everett to ever play in the NHL. The other one, TJ Oshie.
Yep.
All right, Pierre, we can wrap it up. Do you have anything else that you wanted to touch on?
Not really. I think overall we did pretty good about different things going on. Now, honestly, we have a lot news coming. The afternoon you follow all the camp, you get all this fun information, everything like that. So it's fun to watching now. It's fun action, and now tomorrow is going, like you said earlier, the camp in Arizona showcase, and then the one in Tampa is going to be open up tomorrow. So we're going to have more action around the league. And we are at the beginning of the upcoming season, 21-22. And then next week, most of the camp will be open up. The 23rd, I believe, was 22nd, 23rd. That's what the NHL will open up right now. So we are right now at the beginning of an amazing, great another year. And for us as the live streamer, but, year number 2, and we can excited to see this show up every morning to talk about hockey.
Thanks, Pierre. It's been good times. We'll look for some more news, and I guess we'll see if we can get any information out of the Traverse City tournament that starts today, and then we got some other tournaments tomorrow.
Yeah, Bill Zito is funny. I would just see this on the Twitter right now. So happy birthday, Mr. Bill Zito.
Bill Zito.
The next Michael winner of the GM of the year.
Very interesting. All right, Pierre, have a wonderful day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
All right. Good one.